गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी. Boy, Hare Krishna. You have to pay attention and be on beat. Don't look here and there. Don't lose attention because you can't spoil the beat. Okay? Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Gopi Vallabh Radhe Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Gopi Vallabh Radhe Jaya Radha Gopi Nath Radha Krishna Gopi Nath Radhe Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Gopi Vallabh Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha 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 Jaya Jaya Gauranitha Jaya Gauranitha Jaya Gauranitha Jaya Gauranitha
Jaya Radha-Radha, Jaya Radha-Radha, Jaya Radha-Radha, Jaya Radha-Radha, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Welcome again to ISKCON Scarborough. Really appreciate you making your way through all the slush outside. Real troopers. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Adhyanatimiraandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttavadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagara Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagar Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpadrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, welcome again. Is anybody experiencing Kartik withdrawal symptoms?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, very special month.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's Margashish. Right away. Okay, so what we're going to do today is, the topic of today's class is Krishna's complete impartiality. But while being impartial, Krishna still remains very loving. This is one word. I just need a drink of water. Krishna says, by the way, this is the original Bhagavad Gita that I got on the railway station there. I've been reading it for many, many years, as you can see. But today we are going to start reading a little bit from the Krishna book. So the Krishna book is the summary study of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Srila Prabhupada he started the Hare Krishna movement, he was quite advanced in his bodily age. So he was about 69, 70 when he started. And then when he started translating, he didn't have the facility to print all these books. So when he started, he wasn't sure that he would get through till the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like the cream of all the Vedic literature. And he was very worried that he wouldn't get to the 10th canto specifically. There are 12 cantos in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And out of that, the 10th canto specifically refers to and allows us to relish the sweet personal interactions of Sri Krishna. But before getting into the pastimes of Sri Krishna, because they can easily be misinterpreted as the whims of an ordinary man, Srila Shrutadeva Goswami Vyasadeva takes care to establish the universal arrangement and establish the glory of God and establish who Lord Shri Krishna is before telling us what his activities were. Then we can actually understand that this is something special. These are not ordinary things, and what is special about them? So, Srila Prabhupada was worried that he wouldn't live long enough, and surely enough, he passed away when he was translating the 12th, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He went into Samadhi at that time. So, well before that, with the help of Sriman George Harrison, the famous Beatle, Srila Prabhupada translated the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, made a summary study of it. So, the 10th canto is actually the biggest canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, 40% of all the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam are in the 10th canto. So, it's a very, very amazing collection of text, but he condensed it down to this little sweet nectar capsule that we can relish at any time we want, and anytime we want. So, and every single chapter is filled with some amazing gems, and what Srila Prabhupada has done is he's also helped us to understand the context so that there's no misunderstanding in our minds. as to the pastimes of Shri Krishna. So here, Krishna being equal to everybody, everyone has equal access to him. There is no favoritism. In the Srimad Bhagavatam Gita, Krishna says the famous word, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha, which means that I'm equal to every single living entity, and there's nobody that I hate. Name dveshyosti, I don't have any enmity with anybody, and na priyaha, I don't have any special love with anybody. But then, in other words, he says bhakto sive sakha cheti, and he says, he indicates that he loves his devotees very much. So one can question this and think about it and say, how come he doesn't hate anybody, he doesn't love anybody, he's neutral, but he is still partial to his devotees. So Chaitanya Prabhu, who is an amazing speaker of the Bhagavad Gita and various other spiritual literature, has quite a special term for this. He calls Krishna as impartially partial. That's the way to understand Krishna's partiality. So Krishna is impartial. In other words, anybody can access Krishna's mercy, but one who accesses Krishna's mercy purchases Krishna. Krishna becomes theirs. Krishna becomes the property of the devotee. Just like we experience in the Damodar month, in the Kartik month, Krishna becomes afraid of his mother. He's really afraid, like a small child is afraid of his mother. So, not acting at all. He's actually afraid of her love. Her love is so intense that he really gets into the mood of being that child. Forgets that he's God when he's with Mother Yashoda. He just gets back into the mood of a tiny little child. So that is Krishna's beauty, that he's impartially partial. He never excludes anybody. Even if we exclude ourselves from him, he doesn't exclude himself from us. So that is the beauty of Krishna. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a specific episode from the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's actually the 86th chapter of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in which the episode describes the kidnapping of Subhadra by Arjuna and Krishna's involvement in the whole episode. And then the second half of the chapter deals with Krishna's interactions with two of his most favorite devotees in Mithila. Krishna's in Dwarka and they're in Mithila, half the nation apart, like very far away. But he remembers these two devotees. One of them is the king of Mithila at this time, whose name is Shrutadeva. And he's a simple king he's not interested in expansionism, like everybody is interested in expansionism. Nobody is satisfied with how much they have. They want more. He was not interested in that, but he was a very pure devotee. And there was another equally poor devotee who was not a king. He was a penniless brahmana by the name of Bahulashva. So these two devotees were constantly remembering Krishna. So Krishna decided to make a trip and visit them in Mithila, all the way from Dwarka to Mithila. So out of nowhere, like they are not Rajvasis, they are not part of his family, they are not the Pandavas, they are not famous in any other way except that they loved Krishna very much. And both of them had very different means. One of them was a king and he had all kinds of royal facilities available to him. And the other was a simple penniless brahmana living in a cottage, in a little thatched hut, just living hand to mouth. Whatever is needed on the day, he just gets on the day and that's it. He doesn't know what is coming tomorrow. So both of these devotees were visited by Krishna, and not just Krishna alone, but Krishna took a really amazing party of devotees with him to visit them because he wanted to give them the full benefit of meeting him. Okay, so we already chanted the mantra, so we'll get into this. It's a very long episode, so we will just read selectively from the Krishna book. Who here does not have a Krishna book, copy of the Krishna book? Is there anybody here? If you don't have the Krishna book, do we have one here in stock? Yeah. Okay, we have plenty of them. If you don't have a Krishna book, it's just incredible. Okay. It starts with this. All the pastimes of Krishna are recounted to us by the eagerness of one particular devotee. And his name is Maharaj Parikshit. Because Parikshit is so inquisitive. He doesn't even want to take a bio break. He doesn't want to eat. He doesn't want to sleep. He just wants to hear about Krishna continuously. He's continuously asking these questions. And because of his questions, we are benefited. Maharaj Parikshit was very eager to hear more about Krishna. And so, after finishing the narration of Arjuna's kidnapping Subhadra, Shrutadeva Goswami began to narrate another story as follows. Here's the story. Okay, ready to hear the story?
Yeah.
There was a householder brahmana in the city of Mithila, the capital of the kingdom of Videha. Videha, same place where Sita Devi was born by Dehi. This brahmana, whose name was Shrutadeva, sorry I mixed them up, was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Because he was fully Krishna conscious and always engaged in the service of the Lord, he was completely peaceful in mind and detached from all material attraction. He was very learned and had no other desire other than to be fully situated in Krishna consciousness. Although in the order of householder life, he never took great pains to earn anything for his livelihood. He was satisfied with whatever he could achieve without much endeavor, and somehow or other he lived in that way. Every day he would get the necessities of life in just the quantity required and not more. That was his destiny. The Brahmana had no desire to get more than what he needed, and thus he was peacefully executing the regulative principles of a Brahmana's life as enjoined in the revealed scriptures. He's completely happy. Now describes the next devotee. Fortunately, the king of Mithila was as good a devotee as the Brahmana. The name of this famous king was Bahulashva. He was very well established in his reputation as a good king, and he was not at all ambitious to extend his kingdom for the sake of sense gratification. As such, both the Brahmana and King Bahulashva remained pure devotees of Lord Krishna in Mithila. Since Lord Krishna was very merciful towards these two devotees, King Bahulashva and the Brahmana Shrutadeva, he one day asked his driver, Daruka, to take his chariot into the capital city of Mithila. Lord Krishna was accompanied. Look at this all-star team here. Look at this. Lord Krishna was accompanied by the great sages Narada, Vamadeva, Atri, Vyasadeva, Parshuram, Asita, Aruni, Shukadeva, Brahaspati, Kandva, Maitreya, Chavana, and others. What a party. Would you like to have them come to your house? You like to feed them?
Yeah.
You can. Lord Krishna and the sages passed through many villages and towns, and everywhere the citizens would receive them with great respect and offer them articles in worship. To the citizens who came to see the Lord and all the assembled sages, it seemed as though the sun were present along with all these various satellite planets. In that journey, Lord Krishna and the sages passed through the kingdoms of Anartha, Dhanva, Kurujangal, Kanka, Matsya, Panchal, Kunti, Madhu, Kekaya, Koshala, and Arna. And thus all the citizens of these places, both men and women, could see Lord Krishna face to face. In this way, they enjoyed celestial happiness with open hearts, full of love and affection for the Lord. And when they saw the face of the Lord, it seemed to them that they were drinking nectar to their eyes. When they saw Krishna, all the ignorant misconceptions of their lives dissipated. So this is a very instructive statement. When they saw Krishna, all the ignorant misconceptions of their life dissipated. Okay? So in other words, if we have any misconceptions, any ignorance left, we yet haven't seen Krishna. Because if we have seen Krishna, then there are no misconceptions further. Okay? Just like Dhruva went asking for a kingdom greater than his grandfather's kingdom, kingdom greater than his material universe. And then the moment, which was impossible desire to have, like how can you have a kingdom greater than the kingdom of Lord Brahma? But Krishna made it possible. But when Dhruva saw the Lord, he says, okay, what do you want, my boy, Dhruva? And he says, Swami Krithatosvin Varam Nayache. I don't want anything. Thank you very much. Well, you called me here to ask me for something. No, I don't want anything. I just want your causeless devotional service. He says, Aho Matamamaratya Manda Bhakya Sapachata Bhavanchita Padamulam Gatva Yache Enantavath. He says that look, I have come to the person who can destroy all material sufferings, and I have come to him asking for something as worthless as little pieces of broken glass. That's what I was asking for. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, when the Lord passed through the various countries and the people came to visit him, simply by glancing over them, the Lord would bestow all good fortune, thank you very much, upon them and liberate them from all kinds of ignorance. In some places, the demigods would join with the human beings, and the glorification of the Lord would cleanse all directions of all inauspicious things. So when we glorify God, it doesn't matter in which language you glorify God. When we actually glorify God without getting concerned with unnecessary things such as bodily differences, then the whole atmosphere is cleansed. It doesn't matter if you glorify God in Tamil, you glorify God in Arabic, you glorify God in English or Hebrew, Sanskrit. It doesn't matter which language we glorify God, Bengali, it doesn't matter. As long as we glorify God without any other material considerations, the whole atmosphere is cleansed. That's an important thing for us to understand. In this way, Lord Krishna gradually reached the kingdom of Videha. So now, what happened? The king reached. I'm going to skip a paragraph here because there's just so much sweetness here. We'll continue. Each paragraph, each sentence of this particular pastime, we can have one class about it. It's so amazing. It's so packed with mercy. Shrutadeva Goswami wants to pack it in. You know, as he is ending the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the 7 days are nearing completion, and Maharaj Parikshit has to leave, depart, being bitten by the snake. Maharaj Parikshit is so eager to hear about Krishna, and Shrutadeva Goswami is so eager to pack it. So he's packing, as you go through the Srimad Bhagavatam, he's packing more and more into it. Right? It's just amazing. King Bahulashva and the Brahmana Shrutadeva, knowing well that the Lord had come there just to grace them with their favor, immediately fell at the Lord's lotus feet and offered respects. With folded hands, the king and the Brahmana each simultaneously invited Lord Krishna and the sages to his home. Simultaneously. Krishna got both invitations simultaneously. Same time. At the same time, they said, please come to my house. Please come to my house. So what happens, right? What would you do? You would say, okay, I will go to your house first, then I will come to your house next. And then somebody will get disappointed because, he's going to his house first. Or he's going to spend more time here, he's going to spend less time there. He might not be hungry by the time he comes to my house. What will I feed him? Like, you'll think about all these things when you're inviting a guest. There's a famous pastime of Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. When he was traveling all over the world, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj would be invited to breakfast in a certain place where he was. And then he would get on a flight and he would travel to another place. And in 2 or 3 hours, he would reach the Middle East, for example. when it was time for breakfast. And then he would have breakfast there again, second time. And then he would get on a plane again and he would travel probably to Europe. Before he leaves, by the way, the devotees who were at the airport to drop him off, after the program, etc., would feed him lunch at the airport. And by the time he reaches Europe, it would be time for lunch. So he would have a second lunch in Europe, wherever he is. And in this way, Jagannatha Maharaj says, sometimes, his disciples say that actually, sometimes he would have like 10 to 12 meals a day and not get sick, okay? Not get a stomach upset. So just as the Lord is very powerful, similarly his pure devotees are also very powerful. They can do amazing things, they can travel. Srila Prabhupada would travel anywhere, would jump off the plane and he would have no jet lag anywhere. All his disciples would be falling off, falling down, falling asleep, and Srila Prabhupada was as fresh as ever. Mangalarti, morning walk, like the whole thing, everything was always there. So anyways, so what did Krishna do? Lord Krishna expanded himself into two and went to the houses of each one of them. He expanded himself into two, but yet neither the king nor the brahmana could understand that the Lord had gone to the house of the other. This is, Krishna has only come to my house. I'm so happy, he has come to my house. Both of them felt the same thing. So, not only is Krishna equal to everybody, but Krishna is not equal to everybody in a dry sort of, okay, you get as much as you deserve, you get as much as you deserve sort of way, like they paint in the Sistine Chapel, the Lord's, God's hand, finger is painted, his hand is painted, and Lord is painted as an old man. Not like that, not like that. He gives it in such a way that you feel that you are the only recipient of all of his mercy. And like Srila Prabhupada's father taught him, if Krishna wants to give, he will give with his 10 hands. How much can you accept? How much can you take? Of course, when he wants to take things from you, he will also take with his 10 hands. How much can you hold on with your 2 little hands, right? So Krishna is completely unlimited. Both thought that the Lord has gone only to his own house. That he and his companions were present in both houses, although the brahmana and the king thought he was present in one house only, is another opulence of Supreme Personality of God. This is another important thing. Okay, he has done it multiple times. When he was marrying the 16,000 princesses that were abducted by Bhaumasura, those 16,000 princesses said, well, we've already been in the house of another man, nobody is going to actually marry us, and you have liberated us from here. Can you just accept us as your wives? And Krishna said, sure, I will accept you as my wives, because they were all tremendously in love with him. So Krishna expanded himself to 16,000, not just for the wedding ceremony, but for the rest of his married life in Dwarka. He was with the 16,000 queens, and every queen thought from the palace, from that Sudharma assembly hall, the court, he's coming directly to my house. He's not going anywhere else. Every queen thought that she's coming only to house. But in the wedding, there was an amazing thing that happened, which is that, a proper wedding. In the Bhagavatam, there's a statement that says Krishna married all the 16,000 princesses properly. Properly means the parents of the bride have to be there, the parents of the groom have to be there. If the bride has brothers and sisters, they all have to be there with their families. If the groom has brothers and sisters, they have to be there with all their families, right? The priest has to be there, the family priest. Everybody has a particular family priest. That family priest has to be present. So what happened in that wedding was that all of Krishna's associates, Vasudev, Devaki, Lord Balaram and his wives, Lord Krishna's previous 8 wives that he had already married before he married the 16,100 princesses, and the family priest Gargacharya, all of them expanded into 16,100. None of them, except Lord Balaram, were aware that we have expanded and are simultaneously in the 16,100 weddings happening. Nobody knew that. But they were there present in 16,100 places. Here, Narada, Asita, like all of these various devotees, Parshuram, all of them who were there with Krishna on the chariot from Dwarka to Mithila, they also expanded into 2. Each one expansion went this side, one expansion went that side. So one amazing thing is that, in the material world, one of the biggest fears is the fear of missing out, FOMO. If I'm here, I won't be there. If I go to ISKCON Toronto, I can't go to ISKCON Niagara Falls. If I go to ISKCON Scarborough, I can't go to ISKCON Brampton. Right? I wonder what is the prasadam there? What if there's something that I like more there? What can I do? How can I? That's the kind of fear that we have. But when we become spiritually perfect, we don't have to worry about that. Just like Sri Hanuman, who is eternally present in the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, is simultaneously present as Murari Gupta in the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is present. And similarly, every single devotee of the Lord has the benefit and the privilege of being in every single one of the Lord's pastimes, according to their desire. So Narada, all of these wonderful devotees who accompanied Krishna to Mithila to visit Shrutadeva and Bahulashva are simultaneously in both the houses. They're getting different receptions, as we'll read. So Srila Prabhupada mentions that Bahulashva, we are skipping something again. Bahulashva, the king of Videha, was very intelligent and was a perfect gentleman. He was astonished that so many great sages, along with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, were personally present in his home. Like, wouldn't you be astonished if you see Krishna and all of his associates suddenly descend to your home? He knew perfectly well that the conditioned souls engaged in worldly affairs cannot be 100% pure Whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotees are always transcendental to worldly contamination. Therefore, when he found that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and all the great sages were at his home, he was astonished and he began to thank Krishna for his causeless mercy. Being very much obliged and wanting to receive his guests to the best of his ability, he called for nice chairs and cushions. Now, this is a king calling for chairs and cushions. Like, you know, he owns the whole kingdom. And Lord Krishna, along with all the sages, sat down very comfortably. At that time, King Bahulashva's mind was very restless, just like Vidura's wife's mind. Not because of any problems, but because of great ecstasy of love and devotion. His heart was filled with love and affection for the Lord and his associates. His eyes were filled with tears of ecstasy. He washed the feet of his divine guests, and afterward he and his family members sprinkled the water on their own heads. After this, he offered the guests nice flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, incense, new garments, ornaments, lambs, cows, and bulls. In a manner just befitting his royal position, he worshipped each one of them in this way. And all of them had been fed sumptuously and were sitting very comfortably. Bahulashva came before Lord Krishna and caught his lotus feet. He placed them on his lap, and while massaging his feet with his hands, can you imagine that? He began to speak about the glories of the Lord in a very sweet voice. It's a very beautiful chapter, but I'm going to take only a couple of points from here because we just don't have the time. How much time do we have? When do we need to end? Before 12, right? Yeah. Need to leave it? We have 25 minutes. Okay, so that's not a lot of time. So, Krishna, King Shrutadeva, Bahulashva, he's saying, you know, it's not surprising that you are here because you are already present in my heart as Paramatma, he says. So this is an amazing thing, which is that we may think that Bahulashva and Shrutadeva had some very famous, special blessing that is reserved for the two of them because they were pure devotees. But actually, we see that Krishna's mercy is available even to those who are not pure devotees. Krishna's mercy is available to the atheists also, if they want it. If they want it, Krishna is there, present. He's always eternally present. Standing at the door, waiting for us to just simply open the door and receive him. So it's not that Krishna only went to Bahulashva's house and Shrutadeva's house and not coming to ours. He's come inside our hearts, appear in our homes as a deity form. So all we have to do is simply receive Krishna. That's it. The only missing part is not with Krishna but with us. Krishna doesn't have to get on a chariot and drive to Mithila, like ride to Mithila. Krishna is already there. He's sitting in the heart. All we have to do is open the door and receive him. So when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we chant with attention, with love, knowing that we are speaking to Radha Krishna personally. Even though we might not perceive it immediately, they are there, according to scripture anyways. Whenever we offer something to Krishna, we don't neglectfully just ring the bell like this and offer something. Offer, like really, Krishna has come to your house. He's going to eat your cooking. Offer it, like really offer it with all your heart. Patram pushpam phalam doyam yome bhaktya prayachati. Tadaham bhakti upahrutam ashnami prayatatmanah. Prayatatmanah means prayas means trying. Prayatatmanah means one who's always trying. Always trying. Krishna, what can I cook? What can I make for you? What can I give you? Lakshmi Devi is cooking for you. Mother Yashoda is cooking for you. Radharani and the 3 billion gopis are cooking for you. What can I cook? But please, take it. Devamrita Swami Maharaj gives the example of a beggar. Like, you know, especially when you go to India, you see many beggars. And you don't give to all the beggars, isn't it? You give only to the most hopeless of them, like the most hopeless looking of them. Isn't that true? You see a man who is completely able-bodied and putting out his hand in front of you, you won't give him that man anything. But you see a very handicapped person, like cannot move around, he's on a little board that has things, and then you will give. Like you'll be moved to give. Of course, after some time you'll be desensitized to everything that happens there. But Krishna is not like that. So when you are like that, when you're really eager, when you're really, really desperate for Krishna to accept something from you, then he will accept it. So when we remember him fully, like really engage in his remembrance completely. When we are reading, there's no need to have the phone nearby, there's no need to have the television running, there's no need to have all of these distractions. Just remember him completely, purely, right? When we do all of these things, we can learn to distinguish between his voice, which is always in everybody's heart. Krishna's voice is there, and we can learn to distinguish between his voice and the voice of our mind, telling us this and that and that and that and that and that and that. And I had these experiences. So anyways, Bahulashva's reception was like a king, and Shrutadeva's reception was, did I mix it up? I mixed it up in my notes, that's the problem. Bahulashva was the king. Yes, okay, good. I don't know when I mixed it up in my mind. So Krishna is actually our best friend, he says, Suhridam sarva bhutanam, Nyatva mam shanti vrichati. He says, Krishna says that I'm the best friend of all of you. So if we actually have that mentality that Krishna is my best friend. Once, like if you're working in a company, right? You're working in a company, and I see some CEO here. Okay, and let's say there is a particular employee, and that employee happens to be a friend of the CEO. What does that employee have to worry about? Does he have to worry about office politics? He doesn't have to worry about any of this stuff, isn't it? Because his friend is the CEO. So what if you're friends with the CEO of the whole universe? Right? You don't have nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry about politics. You don't have to worry about whether I'm going to get my next meal. You don't have to worry about whether or not this happens or that doesn't happen. You don't have to worry about anything. Right? So that's the... He mentions another important point, and there are many points he mentions. There's dozens of points here. But he mentions another thing, that to be like this is not some great favor that we are doing to everybody, but actually it's our duty. It's our sole responsibility in life to be the reciprocator of Krishna's love. And that's it. If we can do that, just like we water the roots of the tree, everyone else will get watered. The problem is that because we are not watering the root of the tree, we are watering the roots of our own false ego, we're watering the roots of our own unnecessary desires, while pretending to serve Krishna, is why everybody else is not getting that love. So that's important. To think of Krishna, to feel Krishna, to love Krishna is just our very nature. Because we are not being true to that nature is why we have any problems in life. A person who is actually like that, even in the midst of the greatest calamity, will not think that they have any problems. They say, oh, no, I have no problems. Nothing, there's no problem. Absolutely. I've seen such people also. So, before I forget, our homework for today is to read this chapter 86 of the Krishna book. Okay? It's about 10 to 12 pages long. Chapter 86 of the Krishna book. Okay? Which chapter? 86. Okay? It's called The Kidnapping of Subhadra and Krishna's meeting Bahulashva and Shrutadeva. Okay? So then, if you actually try to do this, Krishna promises in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th verse, Desham evanukam partham ahamadhyarajam tamaha nashayam atmabhavastu dhyanam dipena bhasvata. He says that anybody who tries like this, even a little bit, they try. By the way, if you're not comfortable sitting on the floor, anybody here, there are plenty of chairs available here. Please feel free to take a chair. There's no compulsion whatsoever. Okay, so he says, I will destroy the ignorance that is lying in their way. So now, earlier in the class, we said, if you have seen Krishna, there is no ignorance. And if there is ignorance, you haven't seen Krishna, correct? But Krishna is personally promising that if there is ignorance, then if you just try to serve, try to pay attention, try to hear, try to remember, then I will remove that ignorance. In other words, Krishna will remove the barrier that is standing in between us and him. So here, you can come in here and you can see Radha Gopi Vallabha, or you can see a statue made of brass. It depends on our consciousness. Srila Prabhupada would talk to the deities personally. There are many devotees who talk to the deities personally, and they hear their voice also. They ask them, what do you want to wear today? What do you want to eat today? And these things, Krishna reciprocates. It seems stupid, it seems foolish, but actually Krishna reciprocates with those. So if you think it's stupid, Krishna will also think that it's stupid. He won't give you that access. Right? Okay? So now, many points are mentioned here. You know the famous example of how Srila Prabhupada mentions a cat carrying its kitten versus cat carrying a mouse. For the kitten in the cat's mouth, its mummy's grip, she's taking me somewhere else. Better. Because cats move their babies around, their kittens around for their safety. But for the mouse that is in the cat's grip, game over, isn't it? So that example is also given in this chapter, by the way. Everything that Srila Prabhupada gives is from the scripture, which is why his examples are so powerful. Right? Then the king mentions how we are meant to worship the Vaishnavas, to serve them, etc. Right? So I will now jump outside of the king's beautiful descriptions into Shrutadeva's. So how did the king receive? He brought all the chairs and the cushions. He had his entire royal kitchen working for Krishna and his guests. He gave them cows, he gave them bulls, he gave them ornaments, he gave them lamps, whatever the sages need, according to their need, Sages don't need horses and chariots and things like that. They need cows and bulls so that they can perform their daily lunch. So now Krishna is going to... Meanwhile, all of this stuff is happening simultaneously, by the way. It's not one after the other. It's happening simultaneously at the same time. Krishna is accepting the love of Bahulashva. Krishna is accepting the love of Shrutadeva. Meanwhile, the Brahmana, here the story continues. Meanwhile, the Brahmana Shrutadeva, simultaneously receiving the Lord Krishna and his associates at his home, was transcendently overwhelmed with joy. After offering his guests nice sitting places, the king had a whole troupe of dancers and drama players and the whole thing, do the full welcome for the Lord, because he has access to all this. Now what does Shrutadeva do? Shrutadeva has no other possession except for the cloth that is on his shoulder, his vastra that is on his shoulder. So what is he doing? After offering his guests nice sitting places, the Brahmana began to dance, waving around his wrap. He has a thing on his chest. He's just dancing. with great joy, just waving his waving his cloth in the air, expressing his joy that all of these great guests have come to his house. Shrutadeva, being not at all rich, offered only mattresses, like what some little, his wife probably went around there and collected whatever she could from the neighbors. Somebody had some mattress, wooden planks, like some were sitting on wooden planks, and straw carpets, chatai, to sit on, to his distinguished guests, Lord Krishna and the sages. But he welcomed them to the best of his ability. That's what Krishna wants. But do your best. So one of our spiritual masters in the Krishna consciousness movement, Vaishnava Prabhu, he says, do what you can with what you have. Huh? So it sounds like something that is very catchy, isn't it? But he did not make it up. It's coming from the scripture. He welcomed them to the best of his ability. Do what you can with what you have. If you're a multi-millionaire, serve Krishna according to your means. If you're a pauper, serve Krishna according to your means. But somehow or the other, serve Krishna. If you're a very great pujari, mantra tantra visharadaha, yes, go ahead, serve with all those things. If you don't know that, just offer a little flower to Krishna. Do whatever you can, little bit, vacuum this carpet after the program. Do whatever you can, right? Somebody gives $1 million, somebody gives $10, doesn't matter. To Krishna, it doesn't matter. As long as the person did the best that they could. Is that the best that you could? Okay, then Krishna accepts it. No, you're holding back. Krishna sees that also. Okay? Lord, he spoke very highly of the Lord and the sages, and he and his wife washed the feet of each one of them. After this, he took the water and sprinkled it over all the members of the family, and although the brahmana appeared very poor, he was at that time most fortunate. While Shrutadeva was welcoming Lord Krishna and his associates, he simply forgot himself in transcendental joy. After welcoming the Lord and his companions, according to his ability, he brought fruits, incense, scented water, scented clay, tulsi leaves, kusha straw, and lotus flowers. They were not at all costly items that could be secured very easily. But because they were offered with devotional love, Lord Krishna and his associates accepted them gladly. The brahmana's wife cooked simple foods like rice and dal, and the Lord and Krishna and his followers were very much pleased to accept them because they were offered in devotional love. When Krishna and his associates were fed in this way, the brahmana was thinking, and then he had a beautiful conversation with the Lord again. Like there are so many beautiful points in here which I cannot get into. Okay, so there's a couple more things that I wanted to read. Krishna is explaining something. Okay, sometimes it may not be that the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, like there was a particular pastime enacted by Sri Gaura and Nitai, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, with Gauridas Pandit, a particular pastime. So what happened was, he was already worshipping Gauridas on his altar. Gauridas Pandit was already worshipping on his altar. And Gauridas walked into his house, personally. They personally came to see him. And he had a wonderful exchange, similar exchange. He washed their feet, he offered them foods, he enjoyed beautiful conversation with them. And then it was time for them to leave, move on to the next place. And then he says, please don't go, please don't go. Gauridas Pandit said. And the Lord said, but we are here. You're going to see us on your altar? He says, no, but they're not moving around. You are moving around. So he said, okay, fine. So the Gauritai who had come into his house walked onto his altar, shrunk in size, and froze. And the deities who were standing on his altar animated and walked off the altar. And said, wait, don't go. What? But we are already there. Huh? No, but I want you to stay. Okay, fine. They walked back to the altar, and they froze. And the ones who were had gone to the altar and had frozen, unfroze themselves and started walking out of the door. And then Gauridas Pandit was like completely flabbergasted. He did not know what was going on here. And he said, no you. Finally, he realized that actually, it doesn't matter whether they're moving or not. They're still Gauritai. So they are like that. So in this particular case, Krishna is instructing to Shrutadeva, my dear Shrutadeva, you may therefore accept all these great saintly persons, brahmanas and sages as my bona fide representatives. By worshipping them faithfully, you will be worshipping me more diligently. In other words, we are meant to worship the Vaishnavas as good as Krishna, even better than Krishna. By worshipping them faithfully, you will be worshipping me more diligently. And Krishna follows this up statement in the Adi Purana, where he says, Yeve bhakta jana partha, name bhaktas te jana, mad bhaktanam yad bhaktas, deve bhakta tamamata. Which means that though a person who claims to be my devotee, not so much. But a person who is a devotee of my devotee is really, truly my devotee. So here at ISKCON Scarborough, we should remember that. It's not just about serving the deity, but serving each other, serving the Vaishnavas who are here. So, I will read the conclusion and then mention something. Okay, the instruction we received from this incident is that King Bahulashva and Shrutadeva, the brahmana, were accepted by the Lord on the same level because both were pure devotees. So Krishna does not see the externals. He does not see if someone was born in this type of family versus that type of family. Someone speaks Sanskrit, someone speaks Tamil. He doesn't care about these kinds of things. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about your race. He doesn't care about your gender. He doesn't care about your education. He doesn't care about your wealth. He doesn't care about anything except how much you love him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is another famous verse where different devotees approach Krishna in different ways. Gopya kamat bhayat kamso dveshat chedya deva nipa sambandhat vishne sneha duyam bhaktya vayam vibho. There are many different ways of approaching Krishna. For us, bhakti and servitude is the way that we approach Krishna. But the gopis approached him as a girl would approach a boy. The family members of Krishna approached him as a family member would approach a family member. Snehat, because there was friendship between the Pandavas and Sri Krishna, they approached him as friends. We don't impose on Krishna pretending to be his friend, for example. We we are in the line of Narad Muni. Bhaktya vayam vibho. So we are meant to offer him bhakti. This is a real qualification, Srila Prabhupada continues, for being recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because it has become, Srila Prabhupada is giving one very important instruction, because it has become the fashion of this age to be falsely proud of his taken birth in the family of a Kshatriya or a Brahmana. We see persons without any qualification other than birth claiming to be a Brahmana, Kshatriya or a Vaishya, but as stated in the scriptures, Kalau Shuddha Sambhava. In the Kali Yuga, everybody is born a Shudra. Janmani Jayate Shudra, Samskarat Bhavet Vija, Veda Pathat Bhavet Vipra, Brahma Janati the Brahmana. It's a long journey to be a Brahmana, even for a person born in a Brahman family. But as stated in this age of Kali, everyone is born a Shudra. This is because there is no performance of the purificatory process known as samskaras, which begin from the time of the mother's pregnancy and continue up to the point of the individual's death. No one can be classified as a member of a particular caste, especially of a higher caste, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, simply by birthright. If one is not purified by the process of the seed-giving ceremony or the Garbhadan Sanskar, is immediately classified among the Shudras, because only the Shudras do not undergo this purificatory process. Sex life without the purificatory process of Krishna consciousness is merely the seed-giving process of the Shudras or the animals. Krishna consciousness is therefore the best process of purification. By this process, everyone can come to the platform of Vaishnava, which includes having all the qualifications of a Brahmana. The Vaishnavas are trained to become free from the 4 kinds of sinful activities, which we need to avoid: illicit sex, indulgence in intoxicants, gambling, and eating animal foods. One cannot be on the Brahminican platform without having these preliminary qualifications, and without becoming a qualified Brahmana, one cannot become a pure devotee. So that was that chapter. Now I want to conclude by saying a couple of things, because we only have 5 minutes. Okay. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually instructed this by his own example. He recited this particular verse. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also born in the family of a Brahmana, and he also took sannyas, which means that he is the sannyas shiromani, like the topmost of all. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this. He said, Naham vipro nachanarapati napi vaishyo na shudro naham varni nachana grahapati no vanasto yatirva. He's saying, I'm not naham vipro nachanarapati. I'm not king, I'm not this, I'm not Vaishya, I'm not a brahmachari, I'm not in any of the varnashram, I'm not in this, I'm not this, I'm not this. And Srila Prabhupada says, then what you are? Then what you are? If you are not this and not this and not this. He says, Kintu prodhyat nikhil paraman purnam tapthe gopi bhartu padakamalyor dasa dasa dasan dasa. Who am I? I'm the servant of 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 Gopi Bhartu Padakamalyor. The person who is a servant of the lotus feet of the master of the gopis. So in the Krishna consciousness movement, we are not striving for any position. We are not meant to be. The position may come, but we are not striving for any particular designation. We are not trying to become a this or that or the other. We are simply striving to become a servant of the Vaishnavas. If we can somehow or the other become a das, like really become a das, or dasi, then that's the perfection of life. We don't have to really worry about anything else. Okay, so we do have 5 minutes still. I have managed to conclude on time by heavily truncating this amazing chapter. But if you have any questions or any comments or any concerns, please let me know. And we'll try to. Yes, Elishu.
Beautiful lecture. Thank you very much for providing it. I did have a question, Prabhu. You mentioned that while Krishna and all of the other all-star team were walking through, and
they were on a chariot. On a chariot drawn by Dwarka.
Sorry, chariot. While they were passing through, anyone who had taken or vision of Krishna, their ignorance was dissipated. My question is, was it because they were ready to receive him as Lord, whereas when Krishna was in front of Duryodhana, his ignorance was not dissipated?
It's a personal choice. Everybody has free will, and Krishna will not push himself or force himself upon anybody else. It's love me or leave me. We have free will. So without free will, love cannot exist. So Srila Prabhupada said in a morning walk, he was saying, can we? One of his disciples asked, can we use force to spread the Krishna consciousness movement? Because they were coming from the Abrahamic traditions, where force is a common way of spreading the religious tradition. can we use force in the spreading of Krishna consciousness? He said, no, force can be used only in government, but Krishna consciousness is a matter of love. You cannot force anybody to love you. So love, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embodied this, he is the embodiment of love. Namo Mahavalanyaya, Krishna Brahmanaya, Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namo Krishna Namaha. So therefore, yes, Duryodhana did not want it. And so Krishna could not force him. Even though Krishna tried to convince Duryodhana many times. Even he showed him his universal form, another universal form compared to what Mother Yashoda saw, and another universal form compared to what Arjuna saw. But definitely showed him everything that he could. And even Dhritarashtra knew, from the statements of the Mahabharata, we know that Dhritarashtra knew that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And says, but what to do? I cannot change the way I think. It's like that, When Krishna calls me to the temple, I will come, people say, especially Indian people. When Krishna calls me to the temple, I said, I'm standing in front of your door, I am a servant of Krishna, and I'm calling you to the temple right now on behalf of Krishna. And I said, no, when Krishna calls, I will come. What can you do? We go door to door, knock on people's doors, try to get them to accept Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, well put, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have anything else before the call closes? Yes.
When Krishna was marrying all his wives, right? How did they not realize that there was more than one Krishna?
When Krishna, see, let's say that you are in the midst of the greatest pleasure that you can experience. Let's say, I don't know, what do you like to do? You like to study or do you like to play? Both. Let's say you have studied very hard and you have won a gold medal. And you have played very well and you also won a gold medal in whatever you are playing. Right? And the prize distribution ceremony is going on. Right? And you are called on stage. What's your name? Tisha wins the gold medal for, and the whole school breaks into applause and you're receiving your gold medal. Right? And then before the memory of that episode ends, they are calling you for your next prize, your next gold medal, your next gold medal, your next gold medal, your next gold medal. Can you imagine that? At that point in time, would you notice if something else is happening in some other school? You'd be so full of ecstasy, right? So full of joy. Of course, that will all be temporary, but it's not like that with Krishna. So they were all with Krishna. Personally, Krishna was there. Krishna's beauty, Krishna's fragrance. Krishna's fragrance is like the fragrance of a blue lotus, which blooms only on a full moon night. That's Krishna's fragrance. Krishna plus has his sandalwood and he has his garlands and he has all of his associates and he has all his beautiful wives. And you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be a colleague of these. Rukmini Devi, like the princesses are thinking like that. So they are so, like when we are experiencing Krishna consciousness, nothing else, when we are really experiencing Krishna consciousness, when you are really chanting, nothing else exists except for the Holy Name. That happens. You may have had that experience sometimes. Or you may have been in some festival. Have you been in any festival with Dhruva Swami Maharaj or someone, or Bibi Govinda Swami Maharaj, where the Kirtan is going on and you cannot experience anything else except for what is happening right there? Huh? You don't remember that my homework is due tomorrow at that time, do you? Only after the Kirtan is over, you reach home at 9 p.m. Then your mother reminds you, by the way, your assignment is due tomorrow. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's what they were experiencing, but multiplied a million times. So therefore they did not. And Krishna consciousness is like that. When you're with Krishna, there's nothing else. So you're going to be with Krishna just now. The torch is about to blow. So if you're actually in Krishna consciousness, there will be nothing else. Otherwise you'll notice this person is dancing off beat, this person is singing off key. Okay? Tisha, does that answer your question? Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Mahamantra ki jai.